a Batman who absolutely is still warring with himself, but it's somebody who has come to have power and is now dealing with the burden of responsibility of that power.
Today's action movies sometimes feel like you're watching someone else play a video game. Explosions look weightless, punches miss by a mile, and somehow, superheroes survive getting thrown through 15 walls without a scratch. But then there's The Dark Knight, a film that made every crash, chase, and punch feel real. If you enjoy deep dives into movies, hit that subscribe button.
So you do need to adjust your framings somewhat. But actually, once you get into the rhythm of shooting it, and very much for the audience watching it, you can make it more and more like the way you would shoot a regular 35 mm.
Director Christopher Nolan didn't just direct The Dark Knight, he built it from the ground up with one goal: realism. Instead of filling Gotham with digital chaos, he opted for practical effects. Real stunts, real explosions, and real destruction. The result? A movie that still hits harder than a Bane punch even 15 years later. Think about it. When Batman's Batpod roars through the streets, it's not some CGI bike floating through pixels. When that 18-wheeler flips over backward in the middle of a busy Gotham street, it's not a physics-defying cartoon, it's a real truck actually flipping. And when the Joker casually strolls away from a detonating hospital, yeah, that explosion? 100% legit. But why go through all that effort? Well, because Nolan gets it, real stakes need real action. When you watch something happening for real, cars smashing, debris flying, actors genuinely reacting, you feel it in your gut. It's a lost art in today's CGI-heavy Hollywood. And The Dark Knight stands as a testament to how practical effects can make action scenes hit differently. Let's break down how Nolan pulled off some of the most badass, heart-pounding action sequences in superhero history, and why they still crush modern blockbusters. So, while many directors rely on CGI as a cinematic safety net, Nolan treats it like that one friend who only gets invited when there's literally no other option. No green screen Gotham, no fake Batmobile, just actual explosions, real-world stunt work, and physics that obey the laws of, well, physics. This obsession with realism wasn't just about making things look cool, although, let's be honest, mission accomplished. It was about immersion. Ever noticed how CGI-heavy movies can feel weightless? That's because your brain knows when something isn't real. But when you watch Batman's tumbler actually smash through cars, your mind doesn't question it. It just reacts. Nolan once said, "If you can photograph something real, you should." That's why he filmed on location in Chicago instead of using CGI for the cityscape. That's why he built a full-size Batpod instead of just animating it. And that's why when the Joker blows up a hospital, it's a real building actually getting demolished. With some unexpected improv from Heath Ledger, but we'll get to that. The result? A movie that still looks and feels real even in an era where CGI has advanced like crazy. Because when you film something for real, it never goes out of style. Alright, now that we know why Nolan kept CGI on a short leash, let's dive into some of The Dark Knight's most jaw-dropping action sequences. Right off the bat, we get that opening bank heist scene. Because you know a movie means business when it kicks off with a full-blown bank robbery, and not just a robbery, but one that is orchestrated by the Joker himself. No flashy CGI lasers, no floating AI-powered security drones, just real dudes in clown masks pulling off a well-executed, literally, heist. Nolan took it a step further by filming this scene in an actual Chicago bank. But it wasn't just about getting the location right. He used IMAX cameras to capture every detail, making sure the tension and chaos felt as raw as possible.
The film, particularly in this film, I'd wanted to shoot in the IMAX format, to shoot our key action sequences that way, and that's something no one's ever done before, no DP has ever done before. So.
And here's the kicker. That zip line between the buildings? All real. No CGI, no trickery. Nolan put in the work to make it authentic. And the best part? That school bus crashing through the bank wall. That was a real reverse-engineered school bus smashing through the set like a wrecking ball, creating a chaos-filled scene that's as real as it gets. Why? Because Nolan doesn't do half measures. If it can be done for real, it will be. And this was just the start of the action-packed ride that The Dark Knight is. Stick around because it only gets wilder from here.
Whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger.
Next, let's talk about one of the most insane moments in The Dark Knight, the truck flip. When the Joker flips an 18-wheeler on its back right in the middle of a busy Gotham street, it's one of those scenes that just makes your brain go, how did they do that? The answer? Real-world practical effects. No CGI wizardry here, just pure stunt work. The trick to pulling off this beast of a stunt was all about the rig. They attached a special rig to the back of the truck, which was designed to launch the massive vehicle into the air. On cue, the rig fired off, sending the truck flipping in perfect fashion. The street was lined with ramps and safety measures to make sure it didn't crash into anything else. This whole thing took a lot of precision.
This flip with a 18-wheeler articulated truck, Chris kept wanting to do it with a smaller vehicle because it would have been simpler. But in the end, I just said to him, you know, this is what you do. You'll figure out a great way to do this, and he did.
From the speed of the truck, to the perfect timing, to making sure it landed in the right spot, everything had to come together perfectly to make it look as insane as it does on screen. And you can feel it when you watch it. The real beauty of this stunt isn't just in how it was pulled off, it's in how it makes you feel when you watch it. The impact is immediate. When that truck gets flipped, your heart skips a beat. It's raw, it's visceral. The truck slamming to the ground, the screech of metal, the chaos of the moment. It all feels real. By using real effects like this, Nolan made sure that Gotham didn't just feel like a set. It felt like a place where crazy stuff can go down at any moment. It raises the stakes. It pulls you into the action. It's something you know could happen in the real world. When that truck flips, you feel it in your gut, and that's the magic of practical effects. It's these kinds of moments that make The Dark Knight stick with you long after the credits roll. And hey, if you thought that flip was wild, wait till you hear about the next stunt.
Excuse me, I want to drive.
The Batpod Chase, one of the wildest, most heart-racing moments in The Dark Knight. You know that feeling you get when you're on a roller coaster and you're just waiting for that drop? Yeah, that's the kind of intensity this chase delivers, but in a Batmobile-sized package with a motorcycle twist. First off, let's talk about the Batpod itself. Christopher Nolan didn't just design another motorcycle for Batman to ride. No, this is a whole new beast. The Batpod was created to look like something out of a future tech catalog. Sleek, low, and menacing. But what really sells the speed and power is how it was built. This wasn't some CGI-made monster, it was an actual bike, designed to be practical for the stunts. With massive tank-like tires and a frame that allowed for some seriously sharp turns, the Batpod is the perfect ride for Gotham's darkest night. Nolan and his team worked closely with engineers to make sure it could be operated safely while still delivering that gritty realism we love. Now, onto the magic behind the camera work.
It picks up the wind right away, and it never actually got caught in the wheel. I was delighted about this because I think there's something about the image of the cape flapping riding the bike that really makes it Batman, makes it what it needs to be.
The Batpod Chase is all about speed, agility, and that feeling of pure chaos as Batman zooms through Gotham streets. The secret? Creative camera angles and real-world camera work that let you feel the action. Nolan used handheld cameras and mounted cameras on the Batpod itself, which made the audience feel like they were right there with Batman, racing through the city, dodging traffic, and slamming into corners. These real in-your-face shots amp up the intensity. None of that detached, too perfect CGI camera work. It's gritty, it's raw, it's real.
And we were able to get stunning footage of the Batpod. Once again, we shot most of it off of the Ultimate Arm, so we were able to swing the camera in front and behind, up and down, all around the Batpod, and really get some stunning footage, particularly under lower whacker again.
By the time the Batpod hits full speed, you're not just watching, you're feeling the chase. It's not just Batman racing around Gotham, it's you holding your breath with him. And this chase is only one example of how practical effects and smart camera work can make action scenes hit harder than ever before.
I think this kind of action, this kind of chase is most interesting when you're really feeling what the characters are feeling, you're really passing through the action.
Now stay in your lane, because we're just getting started with the stunts in this film. Moving on to arguably one of the most iconic scenes in The Dark Knight, the hospital explosion. Yes, I think we all know this one. This is where the Joker, dressed as a nurse, because why not, nonchalantly strolls away from a massive hospital explosion. And here's what makes it legendary. That explosion actually happened. Warner Brothers didn't settle for some flashy CGI to make this scene pop. They went all out, purchasing an actual abandoned factory and rigging it with explosives to bring the chaos to life in one heart-stopping take. No digital trickery, no fake fireballs, just a real building filled with explosives, getting blown to pieces in the most jaw-dropping way possible. But what truly makes this moment even better? Heath Ledger's now legendary button mashing. Originally, the detonator was supposed to trigger the explosion immediately, but there was a slight delay. So there's Ledger, still in character, repeatedly pressing the detonator like some confused grandpa trying to get his TV remote to work. And when the explosion finally went off, it wasn't a stunt double. It was all Ledger, in his full Joker madness, walking away as a real building erupted behind him. This unscripted moment only added to the brilliance of the scene. It's a perfect example of how practical effects and a little bit of improv can create an explosion of pure cinematic magic. And the best part? It wasn't just a visual spectacle, it was grounded in reality. No green screen nonsense here, just a scene that still blows your mind even after all these years. Stick around, because we've got even more insane stunts coming your way. You've seen Batman do some pretty wild stuff, but nothing, and I mean nothing, hits quite like when he jumps off a skyscraper in Hong Kong. In most movies, this would have been CGI or a green screen nightmare, but not in The Dark Knight. Oh no, Nolan wasn't having any of that. He actually sent a stuntman to the top of a real towering Hong Kong skyscraper, strapped him into a parachute, and just let him jump. No wires, no fake buildings, just pure, unadulterated gravity doing its thing. That means what you're seeing on screen? It's the real deal. No digital doubles here. Every moment of that insane drop, totally legit. The camera's right there with him as he plunges toward the ground, and the wind is as real as the sweat on your palms while you're watching it. What makes this scene so intense isn't just the height, it's the reality. You can feel the sheer risk of it. There's no safety net of digital effects. You're witnessing a human being hurtling through the air at breakneck speed. The power of practical stunts in moments like this is undeniable. That's why when Batman makes his heroic leap, it hits differently than all the flashy CGI we see in other movies. So let's face it, it wasn't just Batman being badass in these movies, Nolan was bringing the heat too. Okay, one last epic moment. The Dark Knight's final fight. Hands down, one of the most brutal, raw, and straight-up satisfying fights ever put on screen. When Batman and the Joker go head-to-head, it's not some over-the-top CGI spectacle, no, just real, gritty combat. This fight is all about realism. Nolan and his team made sure every punch, every block, every slam felt like it could actually happen. No unnecessary flips, no exaggerated choreography, just two guys going at it.
This is a Batman who absolutely is still warring with himself, but it's somebody who has come to have power and is now dealing with the burden of responsibility of that power. And is somebody who is being accused of kind of raising, like it was suggested at the end of the first movie, escalation.
Christian Bale, who's got some serious training, brought that raw intensity to the role. And you can feel every ounce of it. This fight isn't about style points. It's about survival and grit. Now compare that to the typical CGI-heavy superhero battles we see in a lot of today's blockbusters. You know the ones. Characters flying around, dodging laser beams, and throwing punches that look more like video game animations than actual fights. While that kind of spectacle might look cool, it often feels, well, kind of empty. There's no weight to it, you don't feel the impact. But with Batman and the Joker, each punch feels like it could break bones. The physicality of the fight is real, so the stakes are high. You're invested because you know it's not just some green screen wizardry. These guys are in it for real. And that's why it still feels so powerful today. The Dark Knight proves that sometimes less is more. When it comes to combat, practicality is king. No digital tricks, no flashy CGI, just two characters locked in a brutal struggle, and we can feel every second of it. And that's why The Dark Knight still reigns supreme. Now, were any of these stunts a surprise to you? Didn't think so. You remember them all, right? That's because these action scenes still feel fresh, raw, and intense over 15 years later. Why? Because they weren't built on shaky tech. They were crafted with real physics, real destruction, and raw adrenaline. Unlike CGI-heavy action movies that age faster than expired milk, yeah, we're looking at you, 2003 Hulk, The Dark Knight's action sequences have stood the test of time. You can watch them today and still feel the impact. Because real stunts, practical effects, and tangible action never go out of style. So was there really no CGI used at all? No, there was. But it was just minimal, and that decision was genius. By not relying on CGI to make the scene epic, but using it as a tool, the use of CGI was subtle, seamless, and effective. One prime example, take the Batpod Chase. That high-speed wall riding action, insane. But Nolan didn't flood the scene with computer-generated stunts. The real magic were practical effects, clever camera work, and real stunt driving. CGI was only used to polish things up, like tweaking certain details or making the Batpod flip. The result? A grounded, adrenaline-pumping chase that feels real, while still looking next level. Now, contrast this with today's CGI-heavy movies, where digital effects are often the star of the show. In many recent superhero flicks, you get massive CGI battles, where everything from explosions to characters' facial expressions is digitally created. Sure, it looks cool, but does it feel real to you? For me, it surely does not. These digital effects can often distance us from the characters and the action, because it's hard for our brains to buy into something that doesn't follow the laws of physics. Nolan's approach proves that less is more. By using CGI as a supporting player and focusing on practical effects and real stunts, The Dark Knight delivered a more intense, immersive, and impactful experience. When it comes to CGI, Nolan kept it smart, simple, and most importantly, effective. And that's what makes the movie stand out from the crowd. Now let's be real for a second. CGI's not going anywhere. But at the end of the day, it's clear. The Dark Knight shows us the power of authenticity in action filmmaking. And if we're being honest, there's something magical about seeing a Batpod skidding across the pavement with real sparks flying, or watching a real car explode. It's the grit, the weight, and the genuine energy that makes you feel like you're right there in the action with Batman. That's the kind of immersion that makes a movie stand the test of time. And who knows, maybe Hollywood will take a few notes. Maybe we'll start seeing more actors genuinely interacting with their surroundings, instead of just acting against green walls. More Batmobiles tearing through real cities and more rooftop chases. Because in the end, real stuff beats CGI every time. And that's a fact we can all get behind. Well, that's the end of the deep dive into The Dark Knight.
You made it. I'm so thrilled.
Where's the detonator?
But if you want more content on the hidden secrets behind your favorite movies, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up.